Hi everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to replace the strut and spring coil on a 2001 Toyota Corolla. So recently I noticed on my Corolla that it was bottoming out really bad and it just was sagging in the back, and then I noticed as well as going over bumps that it was kind of oscillating up and down afterwards, which it normally wouldn't do. So I finally jacked it up and I checked the strut, and you can't really see it on this new one, I'll show you on mine. But on the strut, I could see that there was oil on it, which means that the strut was leaking. So I ordered these replacement struts that came with the strut and the coil spring online, and it was about 120 bucks and a little bit of change. But anyways, it seemed like a much better deal to do that. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to be showing you how to replace the strut on the rear passenger side. It's going to be the same procedure for the driver's side as well. The first thing you're going to do is you need to loosen the lug nuts on the tire so that you can get the tire off, because it's going to need to come off. Something I forgot to mention earlier was that you can buy just the strut and put your old stock coil springs on. It was the same price to buy the struts at your local car shop, you know, versus buying it online as a complete unit. So I figured I might as well just do that. Plus online it was pretty much the same. wasn't much cheaper to just buy the struts than to buy the whole unit. I'm gonna end up keeping my struts, my old ones, just for the coil springs in case I have any issues with these new ones. So anyways, that's the first thing you do, is you need to loosen these lug nuts, and then you need to jack the car up so you can get the tire off. So something I always forget to mention is that obviously you need to take the lug nuts off in a star pattern. You know, here, 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 here. Creating a star, especially if you have 5. Like on here, you do one, you know, creating a star pattern. It just helps to keep the rim more straight if you do it that way. And this in American is a 13/16. That's what it takes to take these lug nuts off. So as you can see here, kind of all greasy and torn up. So this one was definitely blown out. It looked like the other side was starting to, but it's not nearly as bad. You can especially see it from under here. I'll show you where I jacked it. So you need to do the lug nuts on both tires since you're jacking it so both tires are off the ground. So anyways, I jacked it on this little nub right here, put some jack stands up to stabilize it. Let's see, you can really see how greasy that is compared to that side. See how much drier and less greasy it is. So obviously the strut blew out. So next up is you need to get the tire off. So the next thing you're going to want to do is there's this clip right here that's holding the brake line on. And so you just take some pliers and pull that straight back. It's kind of similar to this one here. Then you actually have to take the brake line off, so you are going to spill a little bit of brake fluid there. It's a 10mm bolt right here. If you have the enclosed one where it's 5-sided, that would be best, so you can hook it around the line and go down. I don't have that for a 10. I also had to take some pliers while I was spinning it to hold it in place. Right here you can see there's a flat edge right there. There's another one on the other side just to hold it in place so you can get that off. And then once you unscrew that, you just pop it off of this tab here. So next up is getting the sway bar off. This is a 14mm bolt here, and actually you need a Allen wrench to go in the center here to actually get the bolt off. I used a 3/16 Allen wrench. So first I took it and I, broke the seal, just used a normal 14 ratchet wrench, and then I had to use a 14 and the Allen wrench to get it off. I'm just getting the top off. I think that'll be fine. We'll see if we have to take the bottom off. So next up is getting these 2 bolts. You can kind of see it here and here. The 17mm are holding on the strut. What I ended up doing was using an extender to get it out here so I could actually just push down. Actually, both sides are 17 in case you have issues with that. Next up, you're going to want to get those bolts out that were right here. I used a hammer and then just a flathead screwdriver, just punch it through, or you could use a punch and pop those. Forgot to mention that it's recommended that you put a jack under here to hold it up, since you're going to be dropping the suspension out. So after you have those bolts out, next you're going to go in the back seat. You're going to put the back seat down, and you're going to have right up here by the seat belt is a box, and it's the very top. You just pop this back, and there's 3 12mm bolts in there that you need to loosen and take off. So with those top 3 bolts undone, really the whole strut just kind of wiggles out. Comes out pretty easy with that undone. You do have to lower the jack if you did use it to raise it up. So obviously compare the new part to the old part. Make sure that all the tabs match up. I was a bit worried at first because this new one has 4 holes instead of just the 3, but they look to be in the proper places as the old one. So anyways, I'm going to run through, and as I install it, I'll run through all the different torques that you need to do for each one. So you're going to do, put the brand new strut and coil spring in, and you're going to tighten the bolts up here behind the back seat, but don't put them down to torque yet, because once you lower the vehicle, that's when you're going to torque it all up. So next, you need to put these 2 17mm bolts back in. You can use the jack to lift it up. I honestly had to take a hammer to the back here and hammer it over to get that bottom one, and then push it through, and then kind of the same thing here where you just have to maneuver this. I mean, obviously be careful because you're on jack stands, but I had to maneuver this to put the bolt in, and then you're going to torque it down to 67 foot-pounds. So next up is reattaching the sway bar. This is the 14mm with the 3/16 Allen wrench. So just tighten it up with the Allen wrench in there, and then you can, once it gets to a certain tightness, you don't need the Allen wrench anymore, and you can use your torque bar to get it down to 33 foot-pounds for this bolt right here. Okay, so the brake line is most definitely the biggest pain. You're going to have to re-loosen it off of here if you had it over here, and then put it back on here, tighten it. It's a 10mm bolt. You want to get it up high enough. There's a little notch kind of in the center of this metal piece right here that this slides into. And I used a little hammer to tap it in there because it wasn't going very easily because it's a real tight fit. So anyways, that's pretty much it for this project. Of course, you're going to put the tire back on. I'm going to end up doing the other side, but there's no point in recording it because it's the same exact procedure. Put the tire on. I normally torque them down to 100 foot-pounds for the tires. And then up here for, just a sec, for these ones in here, you're supposed to torque it down to 29 foot-pounds, which isn't very much, but everything else down there is on pretty tight. So anyways, hopefully this was really helpful for you, and thanks for watching.